Life is an interesting journey with a lot of twists and turns, and sometimes, have you ever wondered what you did to get where you are now? Or have you ever wondered what you did to become who you are now? I turned out to be different than I thought I ever would. So let me tell you my story. My husband and I, we were trying to have a family, and I had all the signs of being pregnant. So my big dream in life was to have two children, a boy and a girl. So we went to the doctor, and my husband was in the waiting room. He was expecting to hear good news. His dream was hoping that I would be pregnant with 5 boys so he could finally have the basketball team he wanted. So instead, the nurse told me I had cervical cancer. I felt fine. I didn't believe her. I absolutely did not believe her. A few days later, Cedars-Sinai Cancer Center confirmed that I had a very aggressive cervical cancer, which had to be removed immediately or I could die. So that was a big blow. And my oncologist, Dr. Feuderan, he told me that if the aggressive cancer had spread, then what I needed to do was to prepare for the worst. He wouldn't know until I went into surgery and they opened me up. So my friends and family, they asked me what they could do for me, and I just told everybody to pray for me. And my co-workers, they called an organization called Silent Unity, and the whole congregation prayed for me. On the morning of the surgery, the anesthesiologist told me to count backwards. So as I was being wheeled down to surgery, I started counting 10, 9, 8, and all of a sudden, all of these prayers flew at me. It's hard to describe. I just intuitively knew that those were the prayers of my friends and my family and the whole congregation that had prayed for me. And then, of all things, I know this sounds crazy, but this big hand came down and scooped me up. And be still and know that I am God. That's all I remember. So it was quite an experience for me. When I tell it, I still vividly see it. That's how much of an impact it made on me. A few days later, after the surgery, my husband was sitting at the bedside, and we found out that my uterus had to be removed and that I could no longer carry children ever. So my purpose in life, my dream, was gone. It was destroyed. So my husband cried. He sat next to my bed. I had 3 tubes coming out of me, and I could barely keep it together physically, emotionally, or mentally. And I just, I had to fight to keep it together, to look strong, even though I wasn't. And I was just too shocked to feel anything. It took all my strength to deal with the physical and the mental and the emotional aspects of it. So I returned home a few days later. They don't keep you in the hospital very long anymore. But I returned home, and I was very depressed. I had to recuperate from cancer. And, I had no future. And, So we had overwhelming hospital bills to pay. Everybody said, well, adopt a child. But we didn't have any money left to adopt a child or to raise a child. So, I mean, that was just out of the question at the time. And I had to recuperate from cancer, so I mean, I wasn't in a position to really adopt a child at the time. Anyway, my husband, God bless him, he brought a bunny home for me to hold like a baby. I don't know where he got the idea. It was so sweet of him, but it made all of my my self-pity melted away. And because the rabbit was so soft and so sweet and so vulnerable and delicate, and I just felt like this animal needed me to take care of her. So that really helped me a lot. And then a few days after that, my husband brought home a shelter dog. And it was a collie shepherd dog, and it was from a local high kill shelter. He was 6 months old, and we named him Odie. And my husband, but I was a little upset with him because he failed to adopt Odie's mother, who was in the shelter with him. And by the time I was able to go get her, she had been euthanized. So that bothered me, and and also Odie cried every night those first couple of weeks, and I could relate to his loss because of my loss. So we bonded. And I began to realize that Odie was healing me in ways that humans could not do. So around the same time, I went out and I rescued a dog from a homeless man on the street because I wanted to give Odie a friend, so he wouldn't be lonely. So I brought the dog home and named him Kramer. And here they are. This is Kramer, and that's Odie. And they turned my life into an adventure. I mean, I never expected it. Their spirits just soared, and it affected me. Every day they got up and they played, and they were so happy, and and it made me that way. So in the midst of all my broken dreams and my no future, this became the happiest time of my life. A little thing like that. Kramer went everywhere with me in the car. I started to go back. I went back to school. I got an education. He was with me every time I went. He made me feel safe and protected and supported. And imagine a dog making you feel supported. I mean, that seemed crazy to me. I never understood animals from that perspective before. And it dawned on me that I was being given a second chance at life with a new purpose. And I can only describe it as a spiritual awakening, but my new purpose was animals. So I also realized that I needed to grow spiritually to become the person that I was given a second chance in life to be. That was an awakening for me. One of the most profound spiritual truths I learned is that animals do not stop with dogs. All animals, I believe, are put on this planet by God to have a purpose. So I just wanted to show you, here's some farm animals that have been rescued from slaughterhouses. This is a lamb and a goat named Jordan and Mandy. This is Sweetie, a cow. And this is Sweetie and her friends are down here. Here's some pigs. They were at a slaughterhouse, and a rescue group got them, and Mo, Larry, and Curly. And here's some turkeys, Elsa and friends. And here's some ducks, Ellen, Carrie, Kristin, and Emily. And here's my favorite, a wolf. They're very misunderstood. Mm-hmm. They look a lot like my dogs. Dogs have descended from wolves. Anyway, So of course, uh, I learned to respect all of God's creatures from my experience, and I became a vegetarian. I stopped eating meat, and then for the past 5 years, I've been a vegan, and I've had no illnesses since cancer, and I don't take any medications. So I guess that's been good for me. I've rescued about 50 dogs and placed them in great homes, a lot of pit bulls and just wonderful companion dogs from the shelter who get thrown away because there's not enough room. And I filmed the local shelter mobile adoptions. You can go to LA Shelter Pets on YouTube if you're interested in adopting from the Los Angeles Animal Shelter. I'm also an advocate for farm animals because they suffer and die violent deaths in slaughterhouses. So that's my story. So.